Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open one of history's most debated set of documents, the final letters attributed to the Apostle Paul.
So here's the thing. For literally centuries, scholars have been arguing about these letters. Why? Because the style, the vocabulary, even the core ideas, they feel so different from Paul's other writings that a lot of people have asked, did he even write these at all?
And trust me, this isn't just some dusty academic squabble. These letters contain some seriously controversial stuff, especially on the role of women, which, as you can imagine, fuels a lot of modern debates. The stakes are incredibly high, because for some, proving these letters aren't from Paul would totally change their authority.
And as if all that wasn't enough, the name most people know them by, the pastoral epistles, well, it's just wrong. As we're about to see, that title completely misses the real urgent drama of why they were written in the first place. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's get past the controversies and misleading titles and uncover the real story here, because it's a deeply human drama about legacy, leadership, and an old man facing his final days. So the first clue in solving this whole puzzle is a real head-scratcher. If you take these letters and try to fit them into the timeline of Paul's journeys in the book of Acts, they don't fit. Not at all, which seems like a big problem, right? Well, it turns out there's a very good reason for that. You see, the book of Acts kind of ends on a cliffhanger. It leaves Paul under house arrest, but it never says what happens next. Well, the truth is, he was actually released. He traveled for a few more years, was then betrayed and rearrested. These letters come from that second, much harsher imprisonment. This is the missing chapter of Paul's life, and it's the key to understanding everything. And you really have to let that sink in. This isn't the same Paul under comfortable house arrest. This is an older man, in a cold, condemned cell, knowing he is about to be executed. So of course his tone is different. His focus has completely changed. He's not just thinking about his next trip. He's thinking about his entire legacy. So this brings us back to that misleading title. If these aren't pastoral letters, then what are they? Well, the answer lies in the two guys they were written to, Timothy and Titus. See, Timothy and Titus weren't meant to be permanent local pastors. Think of them more like Paul's special envoys, his personal troubleshooters. He sent them on urgent, short-term missions to go into a problem area, fix a specific crisis, set up solid local leadership, and then move on. And what's so fascinating is how different these two guys were. Timothy was like a son to Paul, but he was kind of timid and needed a lot of encouragement. Titus, on the other hand, was this tough, reliable, get-it-done kind of person. And Paul's letters are tailored perfectly. He's like a gentle coach for Timothy, but a direct commander to Titus. It's a masterclass in leadership. And this all fits into their larger strategy. You had the apostolos, the sent one, like Paul, who was always on the move, pioneering new communities. But then he needed to hand them off to a local, stationary team, the episkopos and diakonos, the overseers and servants. Timothy and Titus were the bridge, the specialists sent in to make sure that handoff went smoothly. You see, for Paul, it was never about just racking up numbers. It wasn't enough to just start a bunch of churches and walk away. It was all about quality. He knew these little communities would only survive if they were built to last, with a healthy foundation. And these two missions show that perfectly. He sent Timothy to Ephesus because the leaders there were the problem. But when he sent Titus to Crete, the issue was with the general membership. The whole culture of the church was a mess. Different problems, different troubleshooters. So the bottom line is this. Paul was all about quality over quantity. His belief was simple. If you get the leaders right and the members are healthy, then and only then will you get the kind of growth that actually lasts.
Okay, so now we can get to the real heart of these letters. Because remember, Paul knows the end is near. This isn't just an instruction manual. This is his last will and testament. It's his final urgent download of the most vital truths he needs his successors to understand. And a huge piece of that is his teaching on salvation. For Paul, it's not a one-time event. It's a process with a past, present, and future. You have been saved, you are being saved, and you will be saved. You see, it's a whole journey. And the crucial part is that you have to endure and see it through to the very end. I love how one writer describes this as recycling people, restoring them back to the purpose they were originally made for. But here's the catch. It's not automatic.
You have to actively participate. And Paul is painfully aware of this, warning about people who have shipwrecked their faith because they didn't persevere. And to really hammer this point home, he quotes what he calls a trustworthy saying, which was probably part of an early hymn everyone knew. He's saying, look, this isn't just my idea. This is what we all believe. The promise is huge, but the warning is just as stark. It all comes down to endurance.
And then, right in the middle of all this deep theology, the letters suddenly become achingly human. You have this giant of history sitting in a cold Roman dungeon, asking his dear friend to please hurry and bring him his cloak before winter comes. And don't forget the notebooks. The mission is huge, but the man is frail and feeling the cold. And then we get this, his final summary. With his execution looming, he looks back. This isn't a boast. It's a declaration. He's lived out all 3 tenses of salvation. He endured. He made it to the finish line. He's giving Timothy, and all of us, the ultimate example of what it means to finish the race. So in the end, these letters aren't just church handbooks or ancient texts. They're a powerful, moving testament to one man's final attempt to hand the baton to the next generation. And it leaves us all with a pretty profound question to think about. What does it really mean to finish your own race well and to leave something meaningful behind?